Getting ready for the IELTS? Yeah, it can feel like you're staring up at a huge mountain. But don't worry, today we're going to cut right through all that noise. I'm going to give you a simple, proven roadmap that actually gets results. So if you're just starting your IELTS journey, I bet this feels familiar, right? That feeling of just being totally swamped. It is so common, and honestly, for a pretty good reason. I mean, just think about it for a second. The internet is just flooded with all this conflicting advice, and it's almost impossible to know who you should actually trust. And then you add in the high stakes, the pressure to pass for your job or for university, not to mention the thousands of dollars that are on the line. Yeah, it's no wonder it all feels so incredibly daunting. But here's the secret, and it's a big one. The people who really succeed on this test, they aren't the ones studying 12 hours a day. Nope, they're the ones who focus all their energy only on what actually moves the needle. And that is exactly what we are going to map out right here, right now. Okay, so how do we actually do that? Well, the whole strategy really just boils down to a simple 3-part framework. Think of them like the 3 keys you need to unlock your highest possible score. All right, this is where things get really interesting. See the different speeds here? Improving your general English, that's a slow burn. It just takes time. Mastering the specific test skills, that's a bit faster. But understanding the marking criteria, oh, that is the absolute fastest way to see a big jump in your score. So let's break that down. First things first, your foundation. At the end of the day, IELTS is an English test, right? So without a solid general level of English, none of the test-taking tricks in the world are going to get you a high band score. This part is just non-negotiable. And wow, check this out. This really drives home just how huge this foundation is. Your vocabulary alone, get this, it accounts for a full 25% of your mark in both writing and speaking. That's a massive piece of the puzzle. But, and this is a big but, how you learn that vocabulary is absolutely crucial. Now, this might sound a little weird, but downloading those huge lists of Band 9 words you see online, that can actually hurt your score. Why? Simple. Using a fancy word in the wrong context is a massive red flag for the examiners. So why is that exactly? Well, research actually shows that our brains can only really properly absorb about 15 new words a day. Just 15. So if you try to cram in more than that, you just won't learn them deeply enough to use them correctly when you're under pressure. And that, of course, leads to mistakes and a lower score. So, what's the right way? You learn from context. Pick a TV show, a podcast, a book, anything you genuinely enjoy. Every day, just pull out about 15 new words you come across. Figure out their meaning, see how they're used, and then just make sure to review them. This is how you make words actually stick. Okay, let's move on to our second pillar. This is where it all starts to build. See, having great English is one thing, but actually performing well on the IELTS test, that requires a very specific set of skills. All right, so we all know the test has 4 parts, right? Listening, reading, writing, and speaking. But here's the thing that most people miss. Inside each one of those parts, there's this hidden layer of complexity that you really have to prepare for. I mean, just think about that for a second. We're not talking about just one type of reading question. There are over 10 different kinds of questions in just the reading and listening sections alone. This is precisely why just being good at English is not enough to get a top score. And every single one of those question types demands its own unique strategy. Seriously, the skill you need for matching headings in the reading test is completely different from the skill you need to paraphrase a chart in writing task 1. So your study time has to be about mastering these skills, one by one. Okay, on to our third and final pillar. And honestly, this is the secret weapon. This is, without a doubt, the fastest and most effective way to boost your score. It's all about one thing, understanding exactly how you are being graded. Yeah, this quote really says it all. If you know the rules of the game, you can play to win. And look, this isn't about cheating the system or anything like that. It's about giving the examiners precisely what they're looking for. And this right here, this is the rule book. The marking criteria, they're public. You can go look them up. They tell you exactly what an examiner is looking for. I'm not kidding, studying this checklist is like getting the answers to the test before you even walk in the room. Okay, so we have our 3 pillars. Now, let's turn all this strategy into a concrete, winning action plan that you can start using literally today. First things first, and this is a really important warning. When you do practice tests, you absolutely must use official materials. All those fake tests you find online, they're often written by people who don't really know the IELTS format, and trust me, they can give you a totally misleading idea of your level. So please, stick to the official stuff. And here it is. This is, you could argue, the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. You have to get your speaking and your writing assessed by a qualified expert. Why? Because they will pinpoint your exact weaknesses, and that feedback, that becomes your personalized study plan. Because without that expert feedback, you're basically just guessing. You're studying in the dark, wasting so much precious time on things that might not even be your real problems, while your actual weaknesses are just sitting there completely unaddressed. So there you have it. The strategy really is that simple. 1, build your English foundation. 2, master the specific test skills. And 3, learn to think like an examiner. That's it. That's the clear, focused path that cuts right through all the confusion. You now have the roadmap. The only question left is, are you ready to start the journey?